Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I will be going through the year-long process of making this 55-gallon fully planted fish tank that I have. It is one of my favorite pieces. It took me forever to actually fall in love with this tank, but yeah, this is the process from start to finish, starting with the actual tank itself. I pre-cycled the filter, and if you don't know what that is, I did make a video on it, link in the info card up above, but this is me taking everything out. Next I had to dump out all of the water from the tank. I actually ended up keeping some of this water, as you can see here. It is really gross, but that helps cycle your tank as well as keeping your logs waterlogged. I did happen to buy some more fish, which was an impulse decision. Don't impulsively buy fish. This is Eugene. He was a rescue. We love him. Eugene's one of our favorites. And that's Deborah, D3B. She's huge now. She's the oldest fish in the tank, but she's massive. You green algae. I hate it so much. Definitely had to get that cleaned up. It is annoying to clean. And at the time I actually used my ID to scrape it, so I can't really show you that part. But this is my pre-cycled filter. You can tell because it's gross. Next was aquarium soil. Aquarium soil really helps with adding nutrients to your tank, beneficial bacteria, as well as something for the roots to bond to. I like this one because it doesn't break down. I learned all of this stuff from MD Fish Tanks. I'll link that in the description if you would like to see. This tank was made for lotuses, so with lotuses you need to have mineral-rich clay. I'm impatient, so I didn't want it to wait a week to have everything settle, so I decided to pre-mix the clay so I could put it exactly where I wanted it in the tank, because I knew exactly where I wanted the lotuses to go. But clay you have to take out and redo every year, and I haven't done that this year, so yeah, no water lilies, but I do want to do a lotus tank, so let me know if you would love to see that. I would love to put one of those together. They are super fun and one of my favorite flowers. This was one of my favorite parts, saying hi and talking to all my fish. They can definitely hear me. And this is one of the ferns from my other tank. It has babies. Yep, I hate ferns. Always wash your gravel. This is a serious note. It's a lot cheaper to get your gravel from the hardware store. Just a tip for you. The gravel that is used right now is from my previous tank, from my 10-gallon. It had lots of beneficial bacteria in it, so I just used it. Next is sand. I personally hate the fact that I use black sand. I'm gonna change it. That'll be a whole separate video when I do. At first I was like aesthetic and cool, but now I hate it. To me, it's kind of ugly now. That's just my opinion. Now let's talk about hardscaping and some tricks for hardscaping. A lot of this stuff I got from hiking, just from spontaneous adventures or from my students. A lot of my students actually gave me the rocks for my tank. This piece of wood was from a creek that I just kind of found. So yeah, hardscaping was really difficult for me, if I'm being honest. I thought it was going to be easy because, I'm an artist and I know how things look and I, can visualize things. But this was actually really difficult because with hardscaping, you got to kind of visualize how it would naturally look in the wild, and with the lights and with everything, trying to balance the colors as well as the movement and the flow of the tank was just something that I had to learn how to do. And I used MD Fish Tanks as a reference for a lot. He helped me with just how to make my tank flow and how to position my wood and kind of just not take it as seriously and actually just have fun with it, which I think is the real reason why this tank turned out the way that it did. I did an experiment. I thought this plant would be able to convert. It didn't. This log was dummy annoying. I had to hold it down with a brick for like 6 months. Come to find out, there's a little crease and there is air trapped inside the wood, which is kind of cool. I have a spontaneous adventure video where I actually went to find these pieces of wood that I put in, and I built the original tank that I had, the 10-gallon. I didn't put it together or release it, but I can if that's something you're interested in. It was kind of fun. Pea gravel will be your best friend. Just a side note. Now, this plant right here, it's called a sword. It's one of my favorite plants. I don't remember what genus this one and the one next to it is. They're both the same. It has red leaves. I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me. It's massive now, so at the end when you see the tank after a year, just look to see how big that plant and the one next to it is, the one that I'm planting currently. It's huge. I hate ferns. I don't know why I have subject myself to the amount of pain that ferns give me just by looking at them. They're ugly. This is an Anubis. This is a trick I learned from MD fish tanks as well, is to tie the Anubis to your things. You can also glue it, but I like to move things. Hose everything down and make sure your leaves stay dry, or not dry, not dried out is what I meant to say. While this is filling up, I wanted to talk about a few things that I have learned since starting this tank. This tank was a really good experience of patience, and at the beginning I hated this tank. If I'm being really honest and really frank, I thought it looked plain. I had to wait for everything to grow in, which MD Fish Tanks talks about this. You can never have enough plants, and I bought, I think, like $200 worth of plants for this tank, and it still looked bare and it still looked plain. So you can never have enough plants. Spend the money on good quality plants. It will benefit you in the long run. I, for a really long time, hated how this tank looked, but if you let your plants grow in, it'll look amazing, and it's okay to change things. I had to learn that. I moved the rocks around, I moved the logs around. Look at this log. Sorry, side note, the log is annoying. But another thing I learned is if you just leave your tank, it'll kind of sort itself out for the most part. I think I've done maybe 12 water changes. And yeah, this tank has had no sickness, no illness, nothing negative in it, which has been super cool. I'm very lucky. Most of the fish that are in this video got eaten by my gar that I had for a while, and we haven't had any fish deaths from tank-related issues or from illness. There's actually been no illness in this tank since I started it, which is pretty cool. And this is me releasing all of the fish. Now there's some fish in here called threadfin rainbow fish, and you're gonna see one floating across that is dead. They don't do well with change. They get stressed out easily, and when they get stressed out, they die. So that's what happened with this guy. But yeah, here's adding everybody. Clifford! Clifford is my bristlenose pleco, and she is also massive now. She's in the end clip. You'll see how big she's gotten. Some of the fish that I have in this tank are Clifford the bristlenose pleco, D3B or Deborah. She is a Thai flying fox, which is pretty cool. She does a really good job. Eugene is a spotted gold gourami. He is around 6 years old. Deborah is 8 or 9. She's the oldest fish in the tank. These guys are blue daisy rice fish, and unfortunately I don't have them anymore because my gar, his name was Gargar Binks, he ate all of them, so we don't have a lot of the fish that are featured in this video. I bought ferns again. Okay, we're gonna have a moment. I don't know why I keep buying ferns. Like, ferns are literally the bane of my existence, and I got rid of all of them in my tank shortly after filming this section of the video. I feel like they look ugly, and I am a fern hater, so you can quote me on that. I took in a paddle-tailed newt, a Chinese paddle-tailed newt named Mudkip, and with him came these beautiful dragon stone rocks. His original family, he was with a bonded pair. His bonded pair passed away because he's around 15 years old, which is really old for a newt, and they just didn't want him to be by himself anymore. So I took him, and they decided to give me these rocks that were in his tank, so I decided to keep them as a way for him to kind of remember his old home. He's kind of dumb, so I don't think he remembers. He tries to eat leaves, but you know, we still love him. He's still a great man. Still a fan favorite on Instagram if you guys follow me. But this is me slowly moving all of the rocks and testing to see if the log floats, and yep, it still does. This was really difficult without a light, so I ended up turning the light back on later on. Yeah, here, I ended up turning the light back on because I couldn't see. And when you're aquascaping, seeing is helpful and beneficial. This is me carefully placing rocks because I didn't want to crush him. I was moving rocks to try and find him. Yeah, moving rocks. Deborah's always in my way. Love her, but she's always in my way. She's blind in one eye. You would think she would move, but no. And I think right around here is when I see Mudkip and I move him. Yeah, this is him. That's Mudkip. He's a great man. And then I almost crush him with the stick. But anyways, thank you so much for watching me put this tank together. I really appreciate it. Here is the final look. And with that, I like both of these recordings together. Really? Really?